You and certainly the potential movie maker in your family will want to see my interview in my next show with the great film director Jean-Luc Godard. It's full of some surprising and interesting things that'll grab you. Join us. We have an unusually large studio audience, I think because word got out to film students that some of them are cutting classes to be here today, so we won't show you on camera and keep you out of trouble. My guest tonight is the French filmmaker Jean-Luc Godard, and he is invariably called an enfant terrible, a genius of film. And in his picture Breathless, they always say that it changed the grammar of films. Critics always say that. What they seem to mean by that is that he broke all the accepted rules of movie making. Shots didn't match. Film had what are known as jump cuts. There would be fragmented dialogue, shots taken with a handheld camera that moved occasionally. And yet the result was a very moving experience for moviegoers, filmgoers. And I guess a milepost in the technique of filmmaking, the art of filmmaking. That year was 1959. Since then, Godard has had a prodigious outpouring of unusual, outstanding movies. His new film this year is called Every Man for Himself, and it's still another movie, different from any of his other films, and shows the rapid turnover of style which his fans have come really to associate with the methods of communication of my guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome, please, a brilliant filmmaker, Jean-Luc Godard. Mr. Godard, the word comeback has been used about this film. By that, I guess I mean it may be the first, what you might call, commercial feature that you've done in some time. Does that word comeback offend you, or in any way? You see it that way?
In a sense, because I never went away. Maybe I was pushed away, and to me, I'd rather say, well, the reverse of comeback. What is it? Come forth? Or go forth?
Or continue.
Just continue going on, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So it isn't in your sense a return to something. The critics, in talking about this, what I've read of the current film, see it as full of despair. It's a word that's come up in 4 out of 5 reviews. Pessimism. Do you see that?
Whose critic were they? I think, were they men or women?
I never notice when I read...
I think they were mainly men, because they identify... Well, there is 2 girls, mainly 2 female characters and 1 male character, and I think the men identify more with the men, and because of that, they say it's full of despair. And but since there is a majority of the 2 women, which are absolutely there is no despair in their moves, and I think it's unfair to the movie. Mm-hmm. But I may find an explanation. It's because there is, for the character and for myself as a director of the movie, there was no feeling of complaining about something. Mm-hmm. I didn't. It was not to complain about something, the world, the business, the money, the war in the Middle East, anything. Yeah. There was no complaining in this movie, and because of that, you see real motivation without nothing surrounding it. I mean, motivations in reality. And maybe it's tough to see because you are not used to see that. And so you think there must be some despair or something just because it's tough.
Because the characters aren't complaining, they must have given up.
They're just coping with reality, but no complaining about nothing.
There is a feeling, it's interesting that you said were they men or women, the critics. The women in the film, which I saw, seem to cope, to use your word, better than the man certainly. The prostitute
Well,
is resigned to what she does, or she's distanced from it in some way.
I mean, it's hard work, like any kind of work today. I mean, even having just a small conversation, a piece about a movie with such light and such ceremony, I mean, it's kind of hard. It's difficult to be casual and normal. Yeah. And TV is hard. I don't know for the audience, but... So the girls are more casual, yes, and I think women are more natural today than men.
More natural?
Yeah.
Better adjusted, able to endure life better?
I think they have better ideas.
Yeah. Do you... what do they mean when they say you seem more sympathetic to the women in the films?
No, not that. I mean, the male character is my name, and his first name, Paul, is my father's name. Mm-hmm. But I don't, well, identify a bit with it, and he's a character, a TV producer, I'm a movie producer, so, but I think it's more like a social status. So it was honest for me to give my name in some place of the movie, whether an hotel or whether a character or whether a car, I don't know. Yeah. But the moves and the motivation of the two women, which were two different kind of moves, or maybe the same moves, but two different kind of speed. And the problem with the man, he has no speed. One of the women is going too fast, the other one is going too slow, and the man is just not moving. And then maybe this is the despair. Uh-huh. But there is direction with the two other ones. And it's more, and to me, there is more autobiography, you say, in the two women character. I never hesitated in none of my movies, even in the first one with Jean Seberg. She was an American girl. I gave her my lines. And very often I have problem with the actor because they are obliged to say my lines, not Shakespeare line, not an objective line, but my lines. And very often, because it is women, they object because they feel... but I think I'm just giving the lines to the actor when I think it's right, whether it is a man or a woman.
What do you do with the actress who says, but a woman wouldn't say that?
Well, now I think maybe if we have a good relationship, maybe a difficult one, but a good, maybe I listen a little more, and maybe I think that my lines are not so good, but maybe there is good enough, and, well, let's work it more. Let's study it, and maybe we'll discover something.
So you're not the sort of director who would say, this woman would say it, or wash up and get out?
No, for example, I always try that at least, for example, in I wanted because in the call girl business, very often the girl names are not theirs. They're afraid to give their real names. So I asked Isabel, do you accept to give your real names, first name Isabel? And the way she's saying it, because it's a real name, we understand it's a real name. She's not like the other girls saying, my name is Marilyn or Natasha or Claudia, you know, those kind of fancy names.
Shawanda.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another thing I'd like to, that seems to be always said about you, I'd like to hear you talk about, and that is that they always talk about distance, that you keep your characters emotionally distanced, or you keep the audience at a distance and intentionally, not too close, not too emotional. I
think much less now. I think I'm coming more closer now. Less distance.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. And maybe if these pictures were fairly successful, I think it's because of that. But sometimes, I mean, to look at things, you have to go very far to be, well, to have the possibility of taking a look of it. If you go too close, like in advertising, I mean, you are so close to the products, you don't see anymore. That's why you have to name it, because you don't see nothing. So you just name it. But if you, sometimes you have to go, even in a love affair, sometimes you have, well, to put some distance to discover the love again. I think in making a movie which has to do with the distance, the way the distance the camera has to be from what you are. Yes. Maybe I was too close in the beginning, then I went too far, and now it's more, there is more justice.
Yeah. Sometimes in the middle of a scene, you will cut completely elsewhere to some other place, but the voice keeps going. There's an example in this film where during an intimate scene, you suddenly cut to the people on the street. But the scene, you keep hearing the scene, but you're seeing something completely different. Shoppers, people passing, and then back.
Yeah, but to me there is no real difference between image and sound. They are just tools, and sometimes, as I say, even if it looks a paradox, you have to listen to the image and to look at the sound, if I may say so, and well, to use it more like in the music or in the painting. That's funny because in movies you ask to movies a certain amount of things which you never ask to poetry or to paintings or to music. I wonder why.
I don't know, but it has to do with something that a reaction people have to your films. They'll say, I liked it, but I didn't really enjoy it, or I knew I was seeing something good, but I didn't understand it.
I wish it could be, but we live in a difficult society. I wish it could be, and I will try harder because, but it's not so easy. The audience has to do something too. Very often, just take, an ordinary people working in, I don't know, in an office, something, he's going, or someone who is selling, let's say, a hamburger. Well, from what we know about hamburger, it's not very good. Well, when he's going to a movie, whether to see a movie of me or one by Steve McQueen, he's asking the best. But he doesn't relate. He's asking to the fact that 8 hours a day he's delivering a really awful piece of products. And so why Steve McQueen or me shouldn't do the same? Why not? And the audience should think they have a responsibility in the making of movie, or much more a responsibility in the making of TV, because they are making the TV. I remember a quote from CBS head saying, he was laughing because he said, people think we are producing programs. Well, only in second. First, we are producing viewers.
Producing viewers.
Producing, téléspectateurs.
Yeah. You were speaking about speed earlier. We have a clip from Every Man for Himself, and it's a controversial point in this present film because you use slow motion in a way I found unusual. And
I'm glad.
Yeah. Certainly not a cliche. And
I'm glad because it was very difficult, and I don't think I reached really always in sometimes, but sometimes it's very difficult.
Well, here's an example of it. This isn't typical of the movie in the sense that it's not this way all the way through, but here and there this happens. If you roll that, we'll have a look at what we're talking about.
Sans idée à faire vous-même. Tiens, j'ai une idée.
Toi, t'as une idée?
Ouais, tu vas bien voir. faites là?
J'ai téléphoné pour l'appartement.
Ah oui.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé?
On a envie de se toucher, mais on y arrive qu'en se tapant l'un sur l'autre.
Vous êtes cinglé? Dis, elle a vraiment l'air d'avoir mal.
Elle a la tête dure. C'est une fille de banquier. Je vais faire un tour.
How would how would it have been any different if you had just decided to have that at the normal speed?
Well, this is precisely the point. I did it when at the normal speed it was not possible to see things, or at least indicate a possibility which is not completely reached here, that there is something different to be seen. For example, they were fighting together, but you had to indicate they were still in love together. And if you slow down, and with an analysis projector or in the editing table, but slowing down not so the machine is stopped and then you forget, to slow it down, just to have the time to look, to have a look, to take your time to look at what you are doing. And then you discover that these movements, it can be whether a jab or whether a caress. And then, well, probably I was not capable enough of doing it completely. The shot is too long, maybe should be a change of angles and different timing. So, but I kept it that way because it was an indication. They want to love each other, but the only way they want to love each other, the only possibility is by is touching themselves through jabs. And well, so you indicate the audience there is a possibility that moves are changed, and you don't. So you use it.
Yeah. Yes, what would have been a very violent motion is sentimental somewhat this way, and more.
If not, if it was, whether it would be too sentimental or whether too violent, and it had to be both together.
It's interesting that you're not entirely happy with the results. That you're not,
on
sure
this
that...
one or not. Some other time, yes. On this one, no, no.
Yeah.
But then you have to think it before. It was only because I was working in the movie, and the techniques in movie is very conservative. They don't want to link it with video, or the video people don't want to be linked with movie people. And then I thought of it later and not before the shooting. And that's why it's still awkward, you see. And it looks a bit like still like a gadget. I mean, it's like in a
gimmick.
Yeah, a gimmick, like in a Sylvester Stallone movie or things like that.
Could you clear up something that's a mystery to a lot of Americans? Jerry Lewis, as much as he's admired as a comedian, but an awful lot of Americans are in the dark as to why he is so almost sanctified by Europeans, particularly the French, as a filmmaker. Whole issues of Cahiers du Cinema will talk about
he was at the time not all... Well, but we discovered a great, quite a lot of many people in the motion. We said that Hitchcock was a great movie maker. We said that, for example, I was criticized by the fact that I said that a recent Al Ashby movie was not at all done by Al Ashby, but by the Lorimer Company, or even by the bankers of Lorimer.
Hal Ashby, you said
yes, Hal Ashby.
The movie was made by bankers rather than...
But those people should understand that it's because of us that they have their name credited above the title. If at a time, which was 25 years ago, for making our own survival and to try to make the movie we wanted to make, we needed the help of some other people. We needed exterior help. We took it where it was possible. We said Hawks, is better than this one. Hawks is a great novelist, as good as Faulkner.
Howard
Hitchcock, Howard Hawks. We said Hitchcock is a great novelist, as good as Dostoevsky. But it was a help from us. And then we existed through them too. And we give them back credits because now you can see a Howard Hawks picture. Before us, it was not. It was a Selznick picture or a Zanuck picture.
By us, do you mean when you were a critic, a film critic?
Yeah, but which I still am.
Yeah, sure.
And Jerry Lewis, I think, is one. I've seen his last movie, Hardly Working, which is, I think, not appeared here. And to me, he's a great director. He's more a painter, maybe, than a director. He probably doesn't even know. But he's a great, to me, first, he's a continuator of the Harry Langdon and Buster Keaton and Chaplin tradition. He's working with space. He's not tracking like all those so-called modern movie makers and making fancy with a camera. He's just interested in framing. He's a very good framer, like great painters. He has a lot of sense of geometry. To be a comic, you have to be very capable in geometry. And today, I mean, his last picture, Hardly Working, even the title is very honest. Yes, it's difficult to make a good picture.
Yeah.
And he knows. And I think he should be supported, and I'm one of his supporters.
But most people don't go to movies to see framing and technical ingenuity.
Yeah, but
they want to laugh or be entertained.
Yeah, but they receive picture through that.
Yeah. Do you also find him funny?
Very, very. If not, no. I think it's very funny. Even when it's not funny, it's more funny. Because it's not funny.
Well, I know he thrives on and enjoys the praise that he gets abroad, and it's somewhat mystifying to America, although he's, of course, been a huge success here, to find intellectuals praising him in European
for example, he has a lot of
magazines.
I think he has a great idea for his last movie. He was obliged to try to do it in Sweden. I don't know if he succeeded. It was the day, the title is The Day the Clown Cried. And it's a picture about in a Nazi concentration camp. They were using a clown to make the baby laugh when they were going in the gas chamber. I think it's a beautiful idea.
Yes, you're referring to a film that I think it's never been released in this country.
It has not even been produced up to now. He has problem.
Oh, it's not finished?
No, it's not finished. He was obliged to go in exile. I mean, always, it's a good sign when good people go in exile from their country. It means there is something good in them.
It's a good sign, is it?
Yeah, it's a good sign, yeah.
Say, who does the subtitles for a film of yours? How does that get done?
This one were very carefully taken care of. They were done by Charles Bukowski, the American novelist, which is not very well known in America.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And some of the sequence in the picture are coming from Charles Bukowski short novels. And they were worked again by two friends, which are Babette Schroeder and Jean-Pierre Gorin, who are French movie makers who lived here. So I think the subtitles, for once, are quite good.
This is just an aside, but I just wondered how important spelling is to you, because there's one moment when there's only one word in the subtitle and it's spelled wrong. Despair is spelled D-I-S.
Well, that's...
I thought maybe it was a pun or something.
I don't like subtitles very much. I wish sometimes there would be just a presentation, an introduction. For example, I wish someone like Norman Mailer would like my movie and would feel he'd like to introduce it to the American audience.
Right there on the screen?
Or a presentation, and maybe after a subtitle or a dub version, but first a presentation, an introduction. Let me introduce, and he'll speak and comment the way he wants.
On film, on the screen?
Well, on film, on screen, yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a third way to do it, which I'll try to experiment on one of those.
Don't feel bad about spelling. Makarova is spelled wrong in a headline in the Times today, so apparently spelling doesn't count. You referred to some recent film as being awful because it was black and white.
No.
Maybe I
Maybe it was because
Yeah,
it was
misread.
bad, awful black and white.
Oh, awful black and white. You're not opposed to making a black and white film
No, I
these
think
days,
it's,
clearly.
I think next Martin Scorsese picture, which is in black and white, it will be very beautiful.
I think maybe you thought
A Woody Allen.
it could have been
picture?
Woody Allen, that Manhattan.
Yeah, I think it's not good black and white.
You'd rather have seen, say, could have been Manhattan in color? You think it would have added something rather than...
No, I think, I wonder why you want black and white. I think it's more a literary idea than a painting idea, needing really black and white for painting reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's more, well, a gimmick.
There are no scripts for your movies.
Yeah, there are, but not the way you are doing it here.
I mean, the actors don't receive a script in the mail, a full script
These
before.
are my next two scripts, and you see that.
I barely see those. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I...
Other.
But there are only 3 words per page.
No, it was just, no, it's a beginning. I'm beginning to work, you see, taking it.
Oh, yes. It's fascinating. Well, I bet I could get a pretty penny for these at least.
And I give it back to you.
You'd be out of work for 2 years if I pocketed those. Monsieur Godard, are you game for another session like this? Because there's so many more things that I want to get to with you, and we've run out of time.
Okay.
Okay. We'll see you encore une fois.
Merci.
Jean-Luc Godard. Thank you. This is part 2 of a conversation I've been having with the celebrated French film director Jean-Luc Godard, who, when the movie Breathless first hit this country, hit like a bombshell, it did, and as people talked about, it's defining a whole new grammar for movies, revolutionizing the movie-making technique, and so on and so on. There's a lot to talk to him about, so let's assume that you have welcomed him again, and we'll not not waste time with applause, or Mike saying the opposite of what I mean, and get started. I'm always surprised when I read the list of filmmakers that you grew up on or admired as a young man going to movies, because their films are unlike your own. I may be wrong, but they seem that way. People can come out of a Godard movie and say, I just don't quite get it the way I understand a Hitchcock movie when I see that 2 people are searching for a key, and if they don't find it before the Nazis get them, and the plot goes from A to B and so on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in what sense are you a Hitchcock fan, and why don't we see it in your work? Or should we?
By that time, we were, or maybe I consider myself as I'm part of the audience, and I'd like to see movies or images and sound and stories told to me through images and sound. But I realize that to have my own, to see the right story I want to see, I have to participate, and I can't only give $5 and receive a huge piece of fantasy or mystery or something. I have to work on it. I feel responsible of what I see, and the best way to answer to this responsibility is to go on to making movie. In that, so I'm at least sure I will receive the right movie for me to see. Or if I don't, I will be responsible for it because I've made it.
Yeah. But are you ever tempted to make a movie just in the genre of someone else?
Well, I thought in Breathless. I was raised through American movie, and when I was first making Breathless, to me, I thought it was just I was making a Fritz Lang movie for Warner, or a Preminger movie for, I don't know, Warner too.
A Frisson movie?
Yeah, and then I discovered later it was more Alice in Wonderland than a Mark Dixon detective story. And that puzzled me completely because I was aware I was not capable, I was completely out of control. And
do you mean when you saw the movie you were surprised at what it was, or when you read what was said about it?
Yeah, I didn't understand it. But since I made it, I mean, I was obliged to look to myself. I mean, again, it took me almost, but instead of looking in a mirror, to look through a camera, which is a kind of a mirror, and with the help of other people, look through me through others. Yeah. And then it took me almost 20 years to recover myself. And I think that in this movie you just show a little bit of it.
Yeah, on the other show.
Yeah, it's my first movie which is coming out of me. That, in that sense, I say it's my second first movie.
You mean it's really out of you and not influenced by other people?
Not influenced, shocked, moved, passed by, but not influenced.
Well, that gives it an added interest.
And it gives me well, I'm no more anguish anymore, and I think it's a huge relief for me not to be anguished anymore.
Do you mean that something big has changed in your personal life that makes you now a different filmmaker?
Yes, less. Well, the anguish is over.
What happened?
I don't know. I think I've been able to go. Yeah, it's like if I was, going to the screen and then diving into the screen and then being lost. But then in that sense, I came back to the screen. But it's like going back into childhood, but not using the same entry door, using the back door, or maybe the second floor window. You see, when nobody's waiting for us, and so they are not surprised, and you have no. I don't know. It's something strange, but my main feeling is I'm not anguished anymore. I'm not anguished to produce a masterpiece or a piece of shit. I mean, it's just I have no anguish. It's not.
We have that word in English.
Yeah,
too.
it's. I don't know what your problem is when you are making a TV show like that. Why do you want to talk to people regularly? I think it must be very. Well, this is a question I'm asking myself.
Good question, yeah.
And I think it's difficult to talk to people.
Yes.
I just did a series of 6 hours with a little girl and a boy in Paris 3 years ago. And my first meeting with a little girl, I canceled it about 5 times. It was only a 10-minute take. And I canceled it because I discovered I don't have 10 minutes. 10 minutes is, I don't have things to say to her for 10 minutes. I mean, things different from in which school do you go, do you like your mother, or things like that. I mean, real things to say to someone which is very different from you. I mean, which is 40 years old. There is a 40 years of space between you. Yeah.
You're talking about an interview not on film,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in person. Yeah.
And I think the trouble with interviews like that we feel obliged to speak. There is no silence.
This can hurt an interview if they're too long. Speaking of that, in the movie Breathless, one of the characters says something like, "What is your life ambition?" Can you answer that question?
To continue to go on with movies, yes.
Mm-hmm.
One way or another. It's a peaceful... An image is not dangerous. All the world is afraid of images.
Afraid of images?
Images, yes. And I said it, I'm sorry, but I said it to some newspaperman, so I hope it will be new to you, but I was wondering why, for example, to see the difference between the image on TV and on a movie. Well, ask to your president, for example, why a president is willing to go on TV, his image, and is not willing to go on a feature, whether playing a character or whether playing itself.
The President of the United States?
Yeah,
to go into
any president of states. Why?
Why would he not make a film in which he plays someone else?
I think it will be, if Carter, the only way, or Jim Anderson, if he wants to be elected, it's to produce quickly a picture, him as a president, or just Jim Anderson as the average American. A good movie, he will be elected.
Yeah.
But I think he will not do it because he is not interested in the truth. He's just interested in power, which is different.
Mm-hmm. And you think you might see the true man in a film?
I think if movies are still successful, whatever the support is, tape or disc or, I don't know, crystal in 10 years or in 100 years, I don't know, it's because movies are strongly related to our feeling of truth.
Mm-hmm.
And even in TV, I mean, the only very successful things is movies. 60% of the TV success, it's because they show movie. Because to make a movie, it takes 1 year at least.
Yeah.
Whether it is a beer or a rock picture or a pornography, it takes at least 2 or 3 weeks for 1 hour. Here, for half an hour, it takes only half an hour. And this is, this is why it has nothing to do with truth.
However, a lot of American television is made very fast. The dramatic stuff is done in a matter of days. But the idea of a president being in a film is a wonderful idea. Or maybe a terrible idea, but I'd be glad to have...
But why, in your opinion, would he be afraid? Why? It is just an image. Why would he be afraid? When he's not afraid of the same image on TV.
Well, of course, it would seem frivolous. What's he doing off making movies if he's interested in...
So you mean to act is frivolous?
No, I don't think so, but I'm sure...
But you think he thinks?
I'm sure in the presidential mentality it is.
But when we are looking at him on TV, he's not acting?
It's never occurred to me that they were doing anything but acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't... We got a... Even Ronald Reagan, who is an actor...
Oh, he was, yes. I mean...
is, of course, acting, and it's an advantage to him. He knows how to do it. He knows how to use the camera. Partly the reason I asked you that question about your ambition is that in talking to someone on my staff, they said there was a very moving moment in an interview with you in which you were asked something similar to that. And there was a 45-second pause, which can be a lifetime. I guess he knows it was that long because of the amount of time on the tape recorder. And you said, I would like to not be so lonely, or at least not be upset about being lonely. Something like a child who does not want to kiss his parents goodnight in bed, but wants the door left open.
Exactly, I feel that way, yeah. My ambition is that the door will be go on being opened in one way or another. But I'm obliged to work on that.
Yeah. But is that the area in which your life has changed somehow, that it's less lonely feeling both on and off?
At least not being upset.
Making a movie? At least what?
At least not being upset by it.
At least not upset by it.
Yeah, which is...
Yeah.
quite big things for me.
It's easy when there's a prostitute in a film to say, this man is saying that we're all prostitutes. But in some sense, are you saying that about
No, I was just saying that we are all workers.
all workers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to see through, to see work through prostitution, it's the only place where, as I said often, love and work are completely together.
But there's very little love in the prostitutes.
Well, maybe lost love, but there is very few love in work.
Yeah.
I mean, go in an office, go in a plant in General Motors, where is love?
Some
And you
filmmaker said we are all whores, in a way, because we're working for money for people who, for the John who can pay us, the studio, the people we have to please.
No, to me, I'm both the whore and the boss of the studio. I try very hard to build my own studio, so to understand both sides of and not to complain about it.
Yeah. They say that America's image abroad is made mostly by what movies they see of us.
The image of?
The image of America, the image Europeans get of America is from...
Well, we are just a colony of America, you know, so...
That's what?
We are just a colony of America today.
Colony or not.
Culture, finance, yes, we are.
But would you say the effect of American films is dangerous?
I don't know, it's tremendous. I don't know if it's dangerous, but it's tremendous.
Is it America?
It's a question I'm asking to myself, why American pictures are so popular all around. I mean, after all, Swedish pictures are not so popular around, maybe in Sweden, but not necessarily in Switzerland or in Portugal. And why American can go in any country and the audience is opening the door. I wonder, there must be some good things in it. I don't think that way. And, but it's a mystery.
You don't see good things where other people do in American films?
Yes, quite a lot. You are the only ones who invent stories. You have a tremendous capacity of inventing stories. Just you don't care about who receive it and the way you receive, but you go on inventive. That's very strong, and I think that's why America, even when it's very weak, when the dollar is very weak, it is still the strongest. From its weakness, there is a mystery about that.
The film world is abuzz because of the fact that you're going to work for and with Francis Ford Coppola.
With?
With.
Yeah.
Yes, let me correct that. You said somewhere that you were very fond of The Godfather, but not of Apocalypse Now. That interests me.
I think there was not enough money in Apocalypse.
What? Not enough money?
No, it was, 40 million in a picture. That was only what was the payroll of American embassy in Saigon for one afternoon.
Oh, I see.
So, if he was going on the money way, it's not $4 million, which is not enough. It was maybe $40 billion. Then he can maybe reach what was the American war in Vietnam about. And if not, if he has not $40 billion, then he better do 2 or 3 million pictures.
I'm almost certain that I see the point.
I'm sure you do.
Yes. That reminds me
it's
of...
It's not a question. Very often in picture they oppose art to money. And very often people think they try very hard, they think of themselves as artists, and they try very hard to not to be linked with money, to be separated, to be independent from money. I don't think so. Art is not independent from economy, but on the reverse, economy is not independent from art. I remember speaking with, being invited with Mr. Blue Dawn, the head of Paramount and Girlfriend Western, and I said that to me, you are not independent of art, Mr. Blue Dawn. He said yes, and we went into his dining room, and it was full of Picasso and Renoir.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was not independent from art.
Do you assume that he put those there or that the designer did?
Well, nevertheless, they were there.
They were there, yeah.
So it was no need. I mean, art and economy are both sides of the same medal.
Mm-hmm. Well, Picasso was not uninterested in money, was he?
Of course. I'm not.
No.
I like money. I think the money things is the only way you can have great fun in making movies. Mm-hmm. To spend money a different way than your dad has told you. Yeah. And this is very hard. You became really independent when you have the power to spend the money for the movie at your own timing.
The way you want to.
No, the way the movie needs it.
Uh-huh. Does that mean if you want to take 3 years to go back and forth,
sure,
you should have that freedom?
I mean, the best example is Chaplin. It took him between 7 and 8 years to deliver every movie. And that's why maybe why they were so strong and praised by all over the world.
Mm-hmm. How do you see the controversy, which has blown over pretty much by now, but the idea of Vanessa Redgrave being cast as there was a tremendous flap, as we say, about that, and it seems to me most of the arguments about it missed some essential points, but if only because it distracted from the work so much. It was hard to...
I don't understand what does that mean. Does not everyone have the right to be in a concentration camp?
What?
I mean, from what I heard, why Vanessa can't be in a movie playing, why not? Because she's supporting PLO?
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the idea, yes, and that it so upset the lady she played, for one thing, that...
No, I don't understand. She's a good actress, a good girl, and it was mainly, maybe she'll understand better a support of PLO by playing this character. And
right or wrong?
Well, right or wrong, but you need first, there is nothing like one image. An image is always a link between the result of the shock of two images.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that the personal feelings of the woman she played play a role in this, or were important, or should have been considered above?
She probably did. She did, because she's an honest actress.
Yeah. But the woman she played wanted her out of it.
Well, but maybe let's ask
there are people who would say she suffered enough being in the concentration camp.
Then let's ask the woman to try to play it. And if she's better than Vanessa,
that would be it.
Or maybe let's ask the woman before trying to make a test and to play an unknown Palestinian woman. And maybe it will change her point of view then.
It's unlike any other situation, because there's never been anything like the concentration camps. You almost have to have separate rules for that subject and every other subject.
Yeah, that's what we said about why are people afraid by images. An image is something very, I mean, it's not dangerous. You can, you just have to study. If it's wrong, you do another one. It's like justice. I mean, you work on experiment, and then you have the good evidence. But even one evidence is not enough. It has to be opposed to the other evidence. And then the justice comes from little to little.
I must ask you this, so I don't leave it out. Much is made of your peculiar way of photographing a scene, and there are times when it looks like the camera got loose and wandered away in the middle of a conversation. And you have talked in a way that intrigues me, but I don't understand it, about space, the space between two characters. You talk about Velázquez, the painter, sometimes became more interested in the spaces between people than the people themselves. I don't get it, but I'd like to.
Well, communication is being between. So I think to be between is the only way to go to the people. If you start from one point, maybe it's too strong, like in this case between the Jewish woman, Vanessa case, because it's too strong. You have to start between. And a camera, I mean, this camera is between us. That's because of that we can talk to each other. If not, if the camera just, or I use an image, I mean, to go from one station to another one, you need a train. I think movies are the train, not the station. And I feel myself as being more as a train and less than a station. And that's an explanation why I'm less anguished, because I'm not waiting anymore for the train.
It all seems to fit together. Could you illustrate it with us? If this scene were about you and me talking, I mean, if that were the scene, it would not surprise me in one of your movies if in the middle of that the camera were to examine the plants behind us.
No, just look at the face of some nice people here.
Oh. But the space that is literally between us is this space in here.
Yeah, but this space is ugly, so it is no...
Well, we don't have Blue Horn's money to decorate it with Picasso.
No, it's not real space. I mean, space is the time you need to go to someone else.
Okay. If, what do you think of Truffaut's latest movies?
Well, frankly, I think it's, but I'll compare to another French movie maker we hated by that time, and I think he still doesn't like it. It's Claude Autant-Lara. And I think since we were friends 25 years ago, rather close friend, well, then I can see time and space because it has nothing with me in common, and I've probably nothing with him in common.
So you'd say he's somehow lost you as a viewer?
Total stranger. So I really wonder how can he deliver such a film today, which is very successful in France today. I've never been successful as he is.
Why can't Americans make better movies as you see it?
Oh, they can, but they probably don't want.
Why?
I don't know, they must, maybe they feel too comfortable at home, and to create you have to go out of your home and to come back maybe, but you have to go out once or another. I mean, and probably they don't want. Most of the movie makers, it's my opinion, I mean, they don't need movies. They want to be in the business, which is quite a good reason, because it's an easy business, and but they don't need really a movie to bring to someone else, even to one people. I know that from myself. That's why I consider myself more as a doctor or as a patient, and the movie more like a X-ray. So I can show whether my disease or my health to someone else, and if he likes me, he'd like to help me to be cured or to go on. So there is an image of myself, and I need it to speak to someone. It's not possible if not possible to communicate directly with words without images, or just by touching. But you can't touch everyone like that all the day.
No. Leads to problems.
I mean, I don't know, but I never...
And there's only a minute remaining. What was the last time you saw what you thought was a great American film?
I think the latest one I see, which is a very good one, was Martin Scorsese, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which I think is a great American film.
And why did that please you more than others?
Well, it's too long to explain, and I have to explain or to criticize it, but with images and sound, just not by words, which is difficult. If not, you do statements. and I don't want to make statements.
Okay. In 20 seconds, I heard the most mysterious thing about you, that there was a part you had in a movie, and if you couldn't, you wanted either Diane Keaton or Robert De Niro to play it.
Yes, I made a mistake because I saw them both, and I proposed both for the same part. And they say the one who will say yes, then it will be the male character, and if she was, it will be a female character. But they were puzzled. They didn't understand, because a character is just, to me, it's a move or a motivation. It can be played by a woman, a man, or a child, or an animal sometimes.
Yeah. Does it bother you when they say he's a great innovator and groundbreaker, but other people must go on from where he is, that he's not a great filmmaker?
I don't understand.
That your innovations are brilliant, but that the films as a whole are always mysterious and disturbing in some way.
Maybe it was too much, but I think nowadays it will not be that way, so they are wrong saying that.
Now they're wrong.
Now they're wrong.
In the new film. A very fast good night to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jean-Luc Godard. See you next time.